Hi guys, welcome back to Does What It Says with part 2 of easing up these diffs on these WLtoys 28 scale RC cars. So I'm just going to get straight to it. So once you've got your diff in your hand, if you grab the end of it and try and turn it, you see how stiff it is. That's meant to be extremely smooth. Look at that, it's all sticking and it's just terrible, to be honest with you. The front and back are both exactly the same. And all the cars what I've had have all been exactly the same. They've all had the same diffs in. I'll just zoom in for you. So as you guys can see, they're very stiff to turn. As you can see, it's sticking there. Again, this is for people who have not upgrading their diffs, and they're literally doing this. They've just got a car, a little bit of experience. Open these up, get these screws out, and let's crack on. So once you take the third screw out, be careful, as you'll see when I open this up. Watch this first before you do yours. When you split that open, you got 3 tiny little cogs inside. See that? And a little locator in the middle. So be careful not to lose any of them, because that would be the last thing that you want to do is lose any of them. So we're going to deal with one side at a time. So put that section here, put it to one side. We'll deal with that in a bit. And this side here, even though it feels loose like that, it's when it's put together and screwed together, it tightens up, which is where we come into play. So we're going to loosen it up. So we're basically going to sand a little bit of plastic off, stick loads of grease on it, and stick it all back together again. So undo that screw, stick that again to one side, and you want to force that out. So you stick it now and there, pop that out, and this is the little bad boy that we're after. So if you look, there's a little ledge on the flat side of it. Oh, we need to get that ledge off. So basically you're going to get your little bit of sandpaper, get it as flat as you possibly can, and you want to take some of that ridge off. You don't want to get all of it, you just want to take a little section of it off. So turn it over, stick it on the sandpaper, and just rub a little bit off. Just do a few passes. Don't push too hard. And do a few bit of circle motion as well. You don't want to go all in one way all the time. So that's it. But just remember, little is better. So don't go and try and do it all in one go. Do a little bit, have a little look. You want a tiny bit of that ledge left on. But just take some of it off. You just need to grease it all back up again afterwards. What we're going to do though is we're going to flip it over, and we're going to do the other side as well. So the side where you took the screw out from, we want to sand a tiny incy bit of that off as well. Just be careful not to do too much. Just do slowly, very lightly. And that's all you need, as much as that. Then you just got to clean it off, get all the dust off of it, and then we'll grease it all back up again, and we'll put that back in where it should be. And it should be nice and loose this time when we put it back in. So I'm going to put a little bit of oil on the back of it. I'm going to mix it with a little bit of silicone grease, which is perfectly fine. I've done it on all my other cars, and they're absolutely fine. Still working, haven't worn out. It's pretty good mixture actually, to be completely honest. So get it greased up, get it oiled up, and then we get it all put back together again, same way as we took it apart. And we get a little bit of oil, stick it on a drive shaft before you pull it all back together. Just an incy wincy bit. Don't want loads of oil on these things, to be honest with you, because it will go everywhere. So tiny little drip of oil on the end. Push that through. Click it into the cog. Make sure it's lined up properly, and it will go straight in, and then you'll see how loose that is. Much better. It's an improvement straight away, you'll see. Stick the screw back in. And once you've got that screw back in, you want to do exactly the same thing. A little bit of sandpaper, take it off either side of that cog, make sure it's all running smoothly, grease it all up, oil it up, put it all back together again, make sure it's running as smooth as that when you spin it. Yeah, so both these bits have been spinning like that on both sides, and then we'll put it all back together again. So you stick a little bit of oil on, same as the last time, poke that through, you stick your gear on the other end of it, whack the screw back in. That should go nice and snug and still be loose. Then you put a locator in. That locates all the, I think it's called a locator, but anyway, I'm calling it a locator. That locates these three little cogs. And you put them 3 cogs in, and I put a bit of grease first, mixed with oil. Just put a tiny bit in each hole. You only probably need to do 1 hole, but I just do an incy wincy bit. Stick a bit in each hole with a little bit of oil. That should be enough, and that will spread around everywhere nicely. It's not loads I'm putting in, as you can see. You drop each cog in, be careful with them, a little bit fiddly. The first time they're a little bit fiddly, when you've got a bit of grease on it, they tend to stick inside, so it makes it a little bit easier as well when you do get a bit of grease on them. So get them located and seated in there nicely. And then you get the other side of it, stick that back on, as you can probably gather. And when you do that, you start spinning it, you can see that it's a lot freer already, straight away. So when you get the screws in, that shouldn't tighten up. If it does tighten up, then you have to open it all back up and redo any tight bits that you think you haven't sanded properly. So get these 3 screws back in, and we'll see how loose it is and make sure that we've done the job right. So what you should do, once that screws in, it should be nice and loose. You can see in the video in a minute. We'll just show you, get that last screw in. Now these should be really loose. Might as well just pop that little bit. Look at that, perfect. Much better than it was beforehand. And all we've done is sanded a bit off, a little bit of oil and grease, ain't spent any money, just a bit of time, and that is going to make your car run a lot better than what it was before. So let's get it back in the car. Stick a bit of grease on the cog. Just like that, bit of grease, little bit of oil. And then once you put this back into the body, what you want to do is you want to get another little bit of grease, and you want to put it on the end of each of the dog bones. Yeah, and then once you've got the dog bones, a little bit of grease on them, you stick them in the ends of the drive shafts. And then start the whole process in reverse of putting it all back together again, screwing it all back up. Once you've got the dog bones in, all greased up, everything should be running nice and smooth. You stick your gearbox cover back on, and you can clip the top of your suspension arms, clip them back down into the wheel hubs. I think they're wheel hubs, I think that's what they call them, but yeah, either way, wheel hubs, stick them in the wheel hubs, that just pops down, and then you've got 4 screws to put in here. I've done one. There's the second one going back in. I do all this slowly and just so you guys know exactly what way to put it all back together again. It's quite easy, to be honest. You get these 3 screws back in. That's the last one going back in there. And then I put the wheels back on, because I just can't wait to get them back on, to be honest. So yeah, stick the wheels back on, pop them on. then you can get your suspension tower with your 2 shocks on. I do another video, I don't know if any of you guys have seen it, but I got another video when you do eventually upgrade your shocks. Don't throw these springs away, because they do actually fit on the adjustable shocks, which you can buy from Amazon. Screw that suspension mount back on with the original shocks on. So all these videos at the moment, what they are is they're all free upgrades. So you've basically just lubed up a little practice video and instructional video. Lubed up your hubs and your dog bones. Put suspension back on, gear cover back on. Front bumper section, you release these 2 screws again. And the whole gearbox section you just have to pull away from the chassis, and you slide your gearbox back in. And you slide your bumper back in. Screw them 2 screws back up. Quite easy. All step-by-step instructions. Can't mess this one up. Stick the last 2 screws in. Once you've done that, turn it over. Them up nice and tight. Once you've done that, turn it over again. And now we've got the chassis brace, the top brass section, copper section, I believe. That's it, just pop that back in. And you got a few screws to put in for that. So I think it's 2 on the front and 3 on the back. So you get these screws in. Once you've done that, like and subscribe. And then rock on.